Welcome to City Talk. It's About Town. Debbie McCarthy. So excited today. Jackie Shelton is on the set. Hey, Jackie, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, it's been a long time.
It has
You've
been
been
a long
traveling.
time.
You've been wandering around the world. What have you? Let's say a little bit about what you've been doing. Well, first of all, let's just tell the folks who you are.
Okay.
Not only is she an amazing friend, amazing community member, and does tons of nonprofit stuff, she also is the owner of her own Jack's Marketing Communications, which I love, and I've watched you grow it, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And also, you're going to see another little surprise you may not know. Jackie also has Shelton Hall Productions. So it's cool to have you on set when you have been writing and producing and doing all that stuff. So when we come back after this segment, we're going to show a little clip of your short film, and it fits in perfectly with our topic because June is Alzheimer's Dementia Month, and it's so important that we all take the time to sit back and, just take a breath and know that, it could happen to any of us, and don't panic. And we're going to have experts on the show today.
Yes.
Like your good friend. Would you like to tell us a little bit about Amy?
We're going to have Amy Dewitt-Smith, who is the founder and executive director of Neighbor Network of Northern Nevada, which we call N4, which has a lot of different programs to connect people in the community. But a big one is about dementia specifically. There's caregiving tips. There's for people who have dementia, tips for themselves, a respite care program, different things that Amy will talk about. And I've been in awe of her since I met her.
Well, I got to meet her before the show, and I'm telling you, I am so honored because I wish I would have met her 12, 13 years ago.
Everybody does.
Everybody
Yes.
does. So I'm so glad she's here. And also, we have a special guest calling in from Las Vegas, Dr. Wint, director of the Cleveland Clinic Ruvo Center for Brain Health. And you're gonna love meeting him. And I feel like
I'm excited to meet him.
And he's gonna tell us about this amazing fundraiser coming up in July as well. So let's just get started. I feel like we have a lot of topics to cover, and I think we're gonna make our intro a little bit short because I think we need Amy to come on in. So Amy, just come on in. Come on and join us.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. Welcome to City Talk.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Like I said to Jackie, I wish you would have been here years ago. And actually, I remember way back when I lived in Nebraska before having kids, I want to say I was 23, 24, 25. We were visiting a neighbor or something, and their family was there, and they didn't know how to explain to us. I didn't even know what that was. And they were like trying to calm them down and this, and I'm like, this is really scary. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know what to do. So I'm really glad that you can tell us about what you guys are doing and how, so we don't look like, I think it makes you feel inferior. It makes you feel like, what's wrong with me? Or like, what's wrong with my mom or my dad? So we're really happy that you're here, and I'm gonna let Jackie continue the conversation with you, and let's learn about what you do.
All right. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the big things that Amy has taught me and others is that it doesn't need to be scary. It doesn't need to be a catastrophe. And I would love for you to talk about that a little bit about.
Absolutely. I think, at the core of what we're doing at the Neighbor Network of Northern Nevada is really community education. And that's not just like, we do training, and we obviously we do,
Right.
But it's really about bringing awareness and prioritizing creating inclusive communities, which means making sure that community members know what to look for if a community member may have dementia or be living with dementia, or how to best support their primary support person, that caregiver. And so really destigmatizing it, kind of getting rid of that tragedy narrative. And it's a balance because we really need to validate that it's tough. It's a scary diagnosis. There's a lot of unknown when you first get that diagnosis. But I think the message today that if we can convey that people can live well with dementia, and I think with the right community support, it's absolutely possible.
And I think that's the key, though, right? Is you absolutely can live well with dementia if you know what you're doing, and that applies to the person with dementia, and then also the people who love them.
Right, and giving yourself permission to take a break. I think that's really important too. A lot of times, friends or family members have that sense of duty, and I've got to do it 100%, and I shouldn't ask for help. And both people are better off when that caregiver feels okay with taking the break.
Right, and you were talking about this earlier, Debbie, and this was my grandfather wouldn't let anyone help with my grandmother, and he ended up dying before she did, because he never took care of himself, because he was so busy taking care of her. And that's one of the, I think it's an important message, is the importance of taking care of yourself when you're caring for somebody else.
You know, that is so true. My dad, 6 months after my mom passed away, he finally let go. And I happened to be there to bring him to Reno. And that night he had a massive heart attack, and I was there, and which was a blessing, a godsend that I was there. But we ended up bringing him back to Reno, and I was his caregiver for 10 years. But my point is, he didn't take care of himself. I said he didn't sleep well, he didn't eat well. He was trying to get my mom to eat. She didn't want to eat. She didn't want to change her clothes. She didn't know who he was, and she didn't know who we were. And he just was so gentle with her for not knowing how to deal with it. My dad was so kind. I mean, he would they would hold each other's rings. He'd say, "See our rings, see our photo." It's okay. I'm Tony, I'm your husband. And she thought he was her brother. So thank goodness it was somebody she knew.
Right.
Yeah, so it's tough.
What we really try to do at N4 is really look at the time that we're spending with people and making it meaningful, not only to the person living with dementia, so they feel good about receiving that care, but also it allows that primary support person to feel good about taking a break.
So it's almost time for a break, but when we come back, this is perfect segue. I love this, because Jackie, we talked about your film career. We are gonna, when you come back, you're gonna see this really cool clip that, Jackie, you can say a little bit about it real quick. So
it's a very short 5-minute film, just about an older couple who think they've been together since high school. And then you find out through the view of their adult children that it's only a recent relationship. But they both have dementia. And I have researched, and they have the same dementia, and they think the same things, which is lucky.
Yeah, so we're going to take our first break, and we're so glad that Amy is here with us. So stay tuned. It's About Town Deb. Jackie Shelton with City Talk. We'll be right back.
I'm not letting her forget. My dad, he worshipped her.
This is her reality.
This is not reality. They are acting like they've been together since high school.
It is reality to them. You know, this is hard for me too. But I think
Yeah. You remember Johnny Cash's museum?
Yeah, Dad, and you almost got arrested.
You gotta admit that getting a picture of me standing next to Johnny Cash's guitar was worth it. I was kinda hoping that they would cuff me so I could sing Folsom Prison Blues.
Talking about Nashville?
Yep. Did I ever tell you about the time I almost had to sing Folsom Prison Blues?
Yeah. Yeah, Dad. You did.
Welcome back to City Talk. It's About Town Deb. We have Amy here with us. We're so happy. And we have, of course, my co-host today, Jackie. Wow. Your short film is very emotional. I've watched it at least 10 times because it hits home for me. And it drives me nuts when caregivers or friends or people will correct them. Mm-hmm. They'll say, "You didn't do that. What are you talking about?" I'm like, it's okay.
It's their reality.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And one more quick one, because this is a kind of a funny story. So my mom and dad had a timeshare in Palm Springs, and my mom was in her later stages, well, in between stages, and we were shopping. My mom, she loves to shop. And my dad would always carry her bags in her purse. So as we're shopping through the mall, wherever we were, she was just putting stuff in the cart. And I'm like, I like that. that doesn't look like her. Like, why? I'm like, that's cool. I like it. So then every time she would put something in, when she turned around, I would just put it back gently. And she didn't know. And my dad's like, thank you. I'm like, you don't need to buy the whole grocery store out. It's okay. She's not going to remember. She may not remember.
You also don't need to confront
Yeah,
her.
and I said, please don't. Like, don't put on scary movies. Don't put on the news. We had to learn what to do. But the funny part was, the cute part was, when she got to the check stand, I kept all the stuff that I wanted. So then we get back to the timeshare, and she goes, wow, who picked out all these cute clothes? And I went, you did. She goes, did I get them for you? I said, thank you. So it was really cute. So it's always a story that I will remember. But instead of turning it into, you don't need that, you don't need that, I took it like, thank you for getting that for me. Yeah, you bought that for me. And she was so happy. So I'm just saying that there are times when you just need to step back. And you guys can go talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's actually, so when I first wrote that film, it was 17 minutes, and it was a love affair between these two older people, which I thought was beautiful. And it was a romance. And then I realized that there's no conflict, that's not a good movie. And so I started thinking about it from the perspective of the children who are impacted by it. Because they're living their best life, the older people, but the children are understandably distraught. And working with Amy has given me insight into that, because I actually don't have, my parents got pregnant in high school, which is great now because they're very young. But the way that they react, and it's hard, right?
I think in any relationship,
Yeah.
the best way to love and to show support for somebody is to meet them where they're at, not where we would like them to be at some point in the future.
Right.
And so a person living with dementia is no different. So, really always making an effort to learn about where is the person at and being present. And really, I think that's what we would all want.
Right.
And that was like with your film, when they all came back to the table with the photographs, and, the son finally was like, okay, let's do this. And I guarantee you the rest of their conversations was amazing.
And Aaron Foster did an amazing job of acting in 30 seconds.
Yes.
That acceptance.
Whew.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
That's great.
And I cry every time I watch it too. I've seen it way more than 10 times.
And I'm going to start now because it's bringing back memories again. It's bringing back memories for me. But those are great memories, even though, I remember all the other ones, but even the last ones, there were some funny things. And I just said, we can laugh about it.
Right.
Because I'm never going to forget that. That was a moment, it was a memory with her. And but I wish that, like I said, again, I wish we could have had the tools that, on the next segment with Dr. Wint, he's able, he's talking about, he's going to tell us a little bit more about the clinic and how they're helping.
I'd also like Amy to expound on, she broached on this in the earlier segment about N4's respite program.
Yes.
If you can talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. We talked about the importance of that primary support person or that caregiver having a break. So something that N4 does that is pretty unique with our respite care program is a person can either decide who is going to provide the respite. So if they have somebody in their life who they're already comfortable with, we will provide the training and the background screening and all of that to pay that person to provide the support. Or other families might not have somebody in mind. And so we provide that meet and greet and make sure that the family is really comfortable. And then we use what's called a person-centered approach to putting those care services together. So that way we're spending time with that person who's living with dementia in a meaningful way. We take them fishing, we take them to the movies or the museum, or spend some time at home, so that caregiver can have that break and gives themselves that permission.
And it's important to note, so when you're talking about fishing or movies, it's what they want to do, what they're interested in. And so they take the time for the care partner to understand that, so the primary care partner feels comfortable leaving. Because there's a lot of guilt, obviously, in that. You saw it with your dad, I saw it with my grandfather. I see it. I was talking to a friend the other day who's very reluctant to leave her mom alone. And what I said to her is, I think your mom would appreciate spending time with somebody else.
Besides you.
That's true.
It helps preserve that
besides you.
relationship. Yeah.
And so it's not just that you're obligated, it's like they actually have meaningful time on their own with somebody else.
And sometimes we're taking somebody out so that caregiver has time in their own home.
Just to breathe,
Yeah,
just to read a
sure,
book,
nap,
take a bath,
do a project.
and not worry.
Yes,
because literally
absolutely.
you don't have a minute.
Yep.
You honestly, you don't. And
Yep.
audience out there, I'm telling you, I know you know what we're talking about. So we feel you. We totally feel you. And even us talking about this, I have anxiety right now because it's again the memory.
Yep. Brings it back.
I didn't really want to remember all that, but I do want to remember it. But like I said, is there ways that we could take better care of ourselves? So if at the time, we feel like, okay, something's a little slipping here, or maybe I should be exercising more, or they're eating the right things, or is there certain tips we could know
sure.
or do or learn?
As with anything, caregivers who are dealing with significant amount of stress really need to prioritize a healthy lifestyle, as does a person who might be at higher risk for developing dementia. So things like eating well, frequent exercise, making sure that people are socially engaged. Social isolation is the new smoking. Since coming out of the pandemic, it's really impacting people's health and well-being. So, making sure you're connected with other people, with meaningful activities in the community, all of those things are really important. Things like diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, those are all going to leave you at higher risk of developing dementia.
Well, I've decided I'm going to start eating a little healthier out there, guys, not just for dementia, but for just my overall health. So my new shopping list, as you could see out here, I have some turmeric. I've been buying the ones, the spice, but I'm going to get brave, and I bought some of this, and I'm going to try to put in a blender, and I'm going to try to do it. We have some beets, we have broccoli, asparagus. I think I almost am doing an avocado a day. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I can eat the whole thing. Strawberries, and but beets are my new favorite. I love beet juice. It's like my new favorite. And then we have the walnuts, and of course, blueberries and chocolate. They're into chocolate.
Yes.
So definitely, it's and strawberries. So this is going to be my and oranges and apples. This is going to be in my fridge. I'm going to try to be proactive in eating right and
putting
exercise.
it in the blender is a great way to eat that. I was telling Amy off, it's like you just put in all the spinach and everything, and it's easy to get all your...
See, but do you have the blender that's the big honking one the juice comes out, or are you just
Vitamix
using... I don't have that. Yeah. I have the little bullet thing, so I can only do little bits at a time.
Yeah. We used a bullet before we left.
Okay, so it can work.
Yeah, oh, it absolutely can work.
Well, I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
It's getting close to the end of this segment. I'd love you to share, number one, a website, and we will come back for the final goodbye, but anything else you'd like to share?
Before she shares the website, so N4 has a lot of different programs.
Can you say what N4 means?
Neighbor Network of Northern Nevada.
There you go. Neighbor Network North. Oh.
That's for the N4.
I just got it.
Neighbor Network.
There you go.
They have a lot of different programs addressing dementia. So for caregivers, for people with dementia, for people living alone with dementia. So, which we obviously can't get into all here, but the website.
Absolutely. Check us out, neighbornv.org, or they can call our office, 775-453-4774.
One more time, a little slower.
Sorry. neighbornv.org, 775-453-4774.
And one of the things that's awesome about Amy and this, because she created this nonprofit, is that when she sees a need, she'll add something in.
That's so cool.
So a lot of nonprofits, they're very structured. She's like, oh, we need to do this. So
yeah, we have a lot of really fun programs, that are open to anybody. We're a village, so we have a time exchange, volunteer opportunities, transportation, care services. We are always loving working with volunteers. Lots of open positions, paid positions available. So definitely check us out.
Well, I'm going to end with a quote, and then we're going to come back for one final goodbye to give another thank you. We do not remember days, we remember moments. I think that's really important. We've been talking about that.
Yes.
It's the moments. So when we come back, we are going to have Dr. Wint. We'll be on set via video live from Las Vegas. Stay tuned.
In a world where most of us don't often think about what it means to be in an emergency, there's one thing that's certain. At St. Mary's, we're grateful for our fellow emergency medical service responders who do. And although we're not firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, or police officers, The care we provide begins with them. And at St. Mary's, we appreciate you, helping us to offer the lowest ER wait times in the area. We thank you for partnering and providing compassionate care day and night. From St. Mary's, we thank you for all that you do.
Welcome back. It's About Town Deb with City Talk. I am so excited to be at Dream Pilot Films in Sparks, Nevada. It is so cool to be here. And today is even more special because Jackie Shelton, who is sitting across from me, is one of my good friends. And Jackie has been, with me, how many, 10, 12 years we've been together and following each other. Yeah. And as we said at the beginning of the show, she's the owner of Jack's Marketing, Communications, and Shelton Hall Productions. And I want to say that again because we saw this amazing clip that you produced with your short film, and it's about caregiving and dementia. And it just really was perfect timing for you to be on today with Dr. Wint. And then we have Amy, as we mentioned, Amy Dewitt-Smith, and you are the founder and executive director of the Neighbor Network of Northern Nevada. So what better way to have Amy here too, because she, her whole vision and her whole heart is about caregiving and dementia and Alzheimer's and all of that. We have Dr. Dylan Wint. You're the director of the Cleveland Ruvo, did I say that right? Ruvo Center for Brain Health.
Cleveland Clinic Ruvo Center for Brain Health.
There we go.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. So we're so honored to have you here today. And we'd love you to share a little bit about your passion and, because not just anybody can do what you do. You have to have a big heart and a pretty big soul, and you have to do a lot of research. So can you just tell us how you got started and what got you to this point today?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the work that you've done in highlighting Alzheimer's disease and other neurodegenerative disorders. I think probably to summarize how I ended up being in this section of the field of neurology is that I came to learn during medical school that having a sick body with a healthy mind is a better place to be than having a healthy body with a mind that doesn't work well. And wanting to make a difference in medicine, I decided to go into brain sciences. So I became a psychiatrist and neurologist. And neurodegenerative disease is one of those areas that at the same time that it's tragic is also making great leaps and strides. And so the types of outcomes that I saw when I was in medical school and in residency, we are making huge improvements in those currently, and I expect that over the next several years we'll see even bigger improvements in the outcomes in Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, so not your tagline, but the tagline is care for today, research for tomorrow. And I think that really says a lot for all of us here on set, because without the research, we're not gonna gain any headway. And so can you tell us about the clinic and how that got started and how you became a part of that?
Yeah, so the clinic is named after Lou Ruvo, who had Alzheimer's disease. And his family, which had the means to take him to a number of places across the country to try and understand what was going on with him, were unable to get an answer, couldn't get a diagnosis until they met Dr. Leon Thal at University of California in San Diego. And Lou Ruvo's son really wanted to do something to both highlight the fact that Alzheimer's disease is out there and it's common and that many people are suffering, as well as to improve the care that people are getting, both in the current time, so delivering the best medical care in the best medical clinic and having all of the services that are necessary to care for a patient, and also to care for their family, because getting a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease is kind of like dropping a nuclear bomb in the middle of a family. Everyone gets affected because human beings, as soon as we start interacting with one another, our brains start affecting each other. And so you can imagine someone you've been married to for 40 years, your parent, and the impact that a disease in their brain can have on the way that you function, the way that you think, and the types of things that you're able to do in life. Mr. Ruvo then joined with the Cleveland Clinic to actually operate the facility.
So the clinic is in Las Vegas, correct?
That's right. We're in Las Vegas, far away from our mothership.
Yeah. Well, see, but from what I understand and realize, that you can be anywhere because you could go online and you can do the research and you can get help as well, correct?
That is correct. So we do see patients via teleconference. I've seen patients from all over the country and the world via teleconference. We do typically like the first visit to be in person, but sometimes we can provide education, information, and support without necessarily having to have a clinical visit.
Well, I think that's really important because I was telling the girls that over 12, maybe 15 years by now, my mom came down with dementia, Alzheimer's, and my dad, they kind of kept it a secret. Like they didn't share it. Like she was starting to get the symptoms and we're like, something's not right. So I think it's important to not, to make it so there's not a stigma. And it took him a couple years just to tell all of us that, what, your mom's having some difficulty. And even once we realized that, at the same time, we didn't have the tools. We didn't know where to go. We didn't know what questions to ask. Back then, Google wasn't as big of a thing. So, it's a big deal. So I'm very grateful. I wish I would have had those tools at the time to know how to even talk to her, how to respond to her, or how to talk to my dad, how to let him know that, what could happen.
Your experience sounds very similar to the experience that the Ruvo family had, and with the connections that they have and the means at their disposal, they were able to create this center to do something about exactly what you faced years ago.
Yeah, it was really tough. So do you have any questions, Jackie or Amy, to add to what he's talking about? Or I'm sure you probably do, Amy.
I mean, the Cleveland Clinic is really renowned for doing amazing work with research and supporting community members. I think that we're at this really amazing crossroads to combine all of that great research and expertise with additional support in the community. So there's that kind of wraparound support for families and people living with dementia so they can live well with dementia and families can continue to feel supported.
Yes. And so you guys are having a pretty big fundraiser coming up, and it's going to be in our neck of the woods up here in Tahoe. So we'd love to hear a little bit about that and how you got involved with that as well.
Yeah, sure. So the Keep Memory Alive Rodeo is one of our signature fundraising events. Barring the pandemic years, we usually have the rodeo up north and then the gala down south annually. And the rodeo and the gala are intended to raise the funds to do the things that medical insurance can't do. So the caregiver services, the social work services, educational programs that we offer, engagement for patients, the teaching and training that we do, none of that is paid for by billing Medicare. And so these fundraisers enable us to deliver care, the way that your family would have wanted it, the way that the Ruvo family would have wanted it, those caregiver support services, that all those questions that people ask and can't get answered. We're able to, in the clinic, devote the time to do that. We're able to give people resources within our center to do that. And for the ongoing care, we're able to provide physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and music therapy. So delivering this comprehensive care is really the way that degenerative disease care should be done. And our goal is to continue to innovate and revolutionize care so that families get what they need, patients get what they need, and at the same time do research so that we're not facing these problems in the future.
Well, it's so important, especially today, because a lot of people don't have the insurance. And without the insurance, a lot of people will just ignore it and say, I don't have it, so I don't know where to go. And it's nice to know they don't have to feel bad about it. They have a spot, they can research, they can go, they can learn, and they can have their family's last few years, however long it's going to be, will be with peace and grace and joy versus trying to hide it and not knowing how to talk to their loved ones. So I think it's great. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation and hear more about this big rodeo going on. So hang tight. It's About Town Deb with City Talk. We will be right back. Welcome back. It's About Town Deb, Debbie McCarthy with City Talk. Once again, I'm on set with Dr. Wint. We got up here all the way from Las Vegas. We have Amy and we have Jackie, and this is such an important topic. And I know somebody is out there right now who is experiencing a family member, a grandparent, or it can be, I have a feeling it could even start younger than we think. I think a lot of times you think it's somebody in their 80s and 90s, but I'll let them share about it. I have a feeling that you could probably get it in your 40s and 50s. So I know you're listening, and I want you to take heart that we understand and we care, and Dr. Wint, and we all care about you. So there will be links, for you to check out, but please know we're here for you. So we're gonna go back to Dr. Wint, and we were talking about the rodeo. So I'd like to do a little bit more about that. And then I want to go into both Amy and you and talk about the healthy eating and the lifestyles and stuff like that. So we are the signs to look for. There's so much we can share so we can let our listeners know that we're there for them. So with the rodeo, we know who it's going to go to. We know what it's for. We know it's the Glenbrook tradition, and it's a big deal. I mean, people talk about it. It's my first time hearing about it, but when I've told people about it, they all know about it. I don't know where I've been all this time, but I should have been at the rodeo is where I should have been. So, and I heard that it dates back to the 1940s. That's a ways back, and it's still going strong.
Yes, I'm not sure if there was an interruption in the rodeo before it became a KMA fundraiser, but yes, this is a traditional rodeo that was held up on the shores of Lake Tahoe, and it's professional riders who come out and help to support the cause.
Well, I mean, the only rodeo I've heard of is the one in Reno, the biggest little, what is it called, Jackie? The biggest
rodeo in the West.
Biggest rodeo in the West. So I have a feeling it might be a little bit more intimate up there with you guys. I have a feeling, is it a little bit smaller than the one down here? Do you know?
Yeah, it's fairly small. It's fairly small. There's, I would estimate about 250 to 350 people that attend typically. So there's the rodeo, there's also games for kids that are around, and after the rodeo there's a barbecue dinner. And then the next day, there's a gourmet dinner that Emerald Lagasse, the chef, has been so kind year after year to come out and cook for us for that dinner. And then there'll be a concert after dinner. This year, the spirit artist, REO Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon.
I saw REO Speedwagon last year. They were wonderful.
They were great.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Great, yeah.
But I love it, though. It's focused on the kids as well. Like when you said that, there's a carnival games, face painting, a watermelon eating contest. When's the last time you guys have done a watermelon eating contest? Have you guys done one?
No.
I haven't either, but,
Well, and I'm wondering, 250 people, that's such an intimate,
Right.
That's got to be a more powerful experience.
Right.
Because you're up close and personal as opposed to the Reno Rodeo
Right.
where there's 20,000 people.
Right. So that's why I was mentioning that. I think this is an opportunity of a lifetime to be up close and personal at the same time knowing you are making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't beat that venue at the lake. I mean, that environment.
I have not, well, I love the lake.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And there's an auction, right? Everybody loves, I know the folks in Reno, when we have our fundraisers, the auctions are usually a pretty big hit. So I'm sure you have some pretty cool prizes as well.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the auction. Yeah, there's both a silent and a live auction. And forgive me, I haven't had a chance to look up what the items are, but yeah, they're usually pretty spectacular. And it is really easy at the rodeo to get very close, sometimes too close with my kids to what the action that's going on in the ring. I've had clods of dirt kicked up on me.
Oh, I love it.
It's just a fence and the action.
So this is a pretty big deal, guys. I mean, if you have a chance, this is like a once in a lifetime chance. I really feel like, especially if you have kids, like you said, what a great memory, what a great memory that they will have in the photos. It looks like, you said kids, how many do you have?
I have 2.
2. Yeah, so I'm sure that they're looking forward to the rodeo as well. I'm going to give a quote right now, and then I want to go into a little bit more about some tips and different things like that. Well, Jackie's going to do the quote. I'm not doing the quote. Jackie's going to do the quote.
This is actually a quote we use a lot with Neighbor Network of Northern Nevada. Rosalind Carter. There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. So pretty much all of us.
I know it really like touches me, especially because I've had family members who have dealt with that, and I just keep thinking about my dad, how those 7 years, how he just wanted to go to his knees and cry, and he just worried about her. He never slept at night because, you know, you have to make, there's certain, like we could talk about that, how to, like with your home and how to caregive them, and what he'd have to double lock the locks, and he couldn't sleep because he wanted to hear if she got up. And so is there any tips that either Amy and Dr. Wint can share with, or maybe start with the first signs? Like, how do we know, what's some of the first signs we should look for?
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to chime in there. I think it's really important to remember that while there are some kind of early signs and symptoms of dementia, we don't want to self-diagnose. So even though Google is great, it's really, are there one or more symptoms that are significantly impacting a person's daily life? And that's the key, because I'm going to forget where I put my phone, or there might be certain things that I'm identifying with that are on that list. However, it really needs to be something that is making that significant impact in a person's activities of daily living. So, things like having a hard time knowing time and place, forgetting people who are close to them. So people who they would normally remember who they were are struggling with names. And Dr. Wint, I'm sure you could probably chime into with some of the different early symptoms of dementia.
Oh, I'm learning, but a couple of one thing to look out for is very rapid and complete forgetfulness. So asking questions repeatedly, telling stories repeatedly, and not realizing it. Also, more difficulty with solving problems, things that typically would have been straightforward in the past become huge monumental tasks for folks who are developing memory disorders, including Alzheimer's disease. Difficulty with coming up with the words that you want to say, which does happen to me all the time, but you start to see it more and more, and it's out of the range of what you typically expect or what you've seen in the past. And then having trouble with navigation. So very often the first clear sign is that someone gets lost driving somewhere familiar or cannot seem to navigate around the city in the way that they used to.
Well, that kind of happens to me quite a bit.
Thank goodness for GPS.
Yes, thank goodness. But see, I think sometimes having the GPS is making my memory worse, because I depend on it. I used to get in the car and you just go. And now I'm like, I'm going to, even though I know where to go, I still put it on.
You used to remember phone numbers too.
And phone numbers, yeah. And I feel like the phone and all that has really taken away a lot of the memory part of it.
But I think one of the things that Amy said about not self-diagnosing, so what are you supposed to do if you start thinking, okay, this is impacting my life or somebody I love's life, like what should you do?
Right. Well, I was going to mention too, while we might not be relying on our brains to get us where we need to go as much because we have the GPS, it's still really important to stay engaged. And living a really healthy lifestyle. So I think we're going to get to some of the healthy eating and exercise, but exercise your brain. Use your GPS, but still make sure that you're staying active, both physically and mentally. Those are some ways that we can kind of help reduce risk. And like I said, we'll get into some more of the lifestyle stuff as well. But when it comes to that caregiver perspective, you kind of touched on that, and that awesome quote from Rosalind Carter. So many of us who do caregiving don't identify as a caregiver. So I think it's really important from that kind of community education standpoint to make sure that people know, whether your son, daughter, spouse, maybe a neighbor helping out, that's caregiving. And there are supports and things in the community to help provide some relief and hopefully help that person who's living with dementia stay in their community and in their home a little bit longer, because you really can live well with dementia. A lot of people think of end stage dementia as soon as they hear the word, but there's a lot of years that can happen before a person gets to that point. And that's what I'm hoping to kind of chat a little bit about today, because there are some ways that people can live really well while we support those traditional and sometimes non-traditional caregivers.
So I have another question for Dr. Wint. What would you suggest if you are thinking, like when I was thinking my mom, something was happening and my dad wasn't quite ready to share that, what would be the conversation that we could have with our loved one so we don't make them feel, or let's say it's me having it and my son wants to say, Mom, you told me that story 20 times and yeah, that happened. It does. Or like, where's my sunglasses? Oh, they're on my eyes. I mean, I've done that. We've all done that. So how do you approach that conversation with a loved one so you don't make them feel like freaked out, or like you're, telling them something's wrong, which, how would you approach that?
It's a great question, and it's something that a lot of caregivers struggle with. There's no sort of tried and true definite answer, but I think a couple of things that are important are, one, not abnormalizing it. So not saying something like, I think you're sick, let's go see the doctor, but thinking more about it as sort of a checkup. Asking about things from that individual's perspective. Have they noticed any changes in their memory or the way their brain is working? Often, if they have noticed something, they will say yes. And if they haven't noticed something, they'll say, no, why? And then that opens up the conversation. And if they say, well, why are you saying this? You say, well, you asked me why. You can also take it from the perspective of what they want out of life. So often I will be sitting with a patient who doesn't think they have a problem, a family who does think they have a problem. And I tell the patient, listen, I am not going to judge whether the way your brain is working right now is good enough for you or not. What I can tell you is that there are signs from our examination and our testing that your brain will not be working as well a year from now or 2 years from now. And this is my concern, and this is what I'm aiming at. And hopefully that helps the patient to view the person who's telling them that they see something wrong as an ally, someone who's trying to help them accomplish their goals, as opposed to just telling them, the ways in which I think that they're different from how I think they should be.
I think too, if I may,
I would love you to.
Yeah, a first step that's really important when we are concerned that a loved one or a friend might be having some memory difficulty is to try to rule out some things that might not be dementia. So a person's medications could be interacting differently in their body, and maybe there's a physician who needs to take a look at that list of medications that could be contraindicated. There's all kinds of body systems, even certain types of infections that can affect how a person's cognition is, and it's really important to rule those out. And I'm sure that's what Dr. Wint would do as a first kind of step. So I think when we're essentially trying to get that buy-in, when we're concerned for a family member to say, hey, I've noticed some things, let's check it out. I think maybe not even going straight to dementia or Alzheimer's, because we know that there's that stigma related to those words. Just saying, we want to make sure everything's on track and that things are well for you with your medication and your body. And that maybe can be a nice first step into that conversation.
I like that. Well, again, the time has gone by really fast. Mm-hmm. So I would love you to share one more time the date of the rodeo and how we get in touch with you guys. And I know we will have that on our pages, but just want to thank you. So one more time, the date and where we go to find out more information.
The rodeo is on July 8th, and the gourmet dinner is on Sunday, July 9th. And you can find more information at keepmemoryalive.org.
Thank you again so much. We really appreciate you, and have an amazing afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you tired of getting unwanted calls from telemarketers? Is your mailbox bursting at the seams with endless Medicare junk mail? Here at Health Benefits Associates, we believe local is better. We will sit down with you and make sure your plan covers your doctors, medications, and dentists. We work with plans starting at $0 a month with medical, dental, vision, prescription coverage, and more. So give us a call today to find the right Medicare plan for you.
Welcome back. Last segment of City Talk with About Town Deb, Debbie McCarthy, Jackie Shelton. We got Amy here. I feel like I just ran a race. All the memories kept flooding back, and that's really what this show was about. It was about memories and remembering our family, and remember to cherish the memories to come, all those little ones. And I would love, and Jackie, your short film, again, how can we watch it over and over again? Can you share? Because you're going to want to watch it over and over again.
I actually don't recommend watching it over and over
You'll
again.
cry.
It's called Lost in Memories, and it's on our website, sheltonhallproductions.com. We just got done with the festival circuit, so we're able to share it. It's picked up a couple of awards at different film festivals, which is nice.
Our very own Jackie Shelton, Reno, Nevada, winning awards and traveling the world right now.
Well, not right now, but
yes.
You were.
She just returned from with Clay, her husband. They've been traveling around, and pretty soon they'll be back on the road, and you could follow them. And what website could they follow you on?
That's at wonderfulworld.com, but it's all spelled wrong. So it's WANDERFUL. Wonderful. World is WHIRLED.
And they're having a whirlwind of fun when they're out.
Yes, we
are.
So,
Miss Amy here,
Yes.
Any last minute thoughts that you would like to just from your heart speak to the audience?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, join our village. We're in 12 counties in northern Nevada. We would love to have you participate in any way that you're interested. Our website again is neighbornv.org.
You had mentioned you do our hiring for the caregivers, or maybe that is really important, because just so you know, I have adopted mom who is now passed. Grandma B, I love you. She's my amazing birth mom who brought me into this world, and she's needing a little extra help right now. And we'd like her to get to go back to her apartment for a little bit, but she's gonna need some help, not with dementia. She has some lung stuff. And we're like, how do we get help? How do we trust the person? So it's not just so do you help with any kind of, not just dementia, if somebody's struggling? It would so be nice. I would feel so much safer knowing that your team helped find the right person for a family member.
Right. Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
We offer 5 hours of free respite care to people with disabilities 18 and up, and elders 60 and up. So they do not have to have a dementia diagnosis.
That's really sad. I'm 60.
and
Come help me.
And lots of comprehensive case management. So we really focus on
amazing.
Getting people connected to other resources as well.
I'm going to do a quote here again. Caregiving often calls us to lean into love we don't know it's possible. Tia Walker. That just hits home, man. Yeah. These quotes are kind of touching, but they're real. And we want you to feel us today. We want you to realize that we get you. We totally get you, and we're here. So please reach out to Amy. And again, your website. I want to make sure they hear this a few times.
Yes. neighbornv.org. Come check us out, or 775-453-4775.
Well, now I need a little bit of thank yous, because you see my styling outfit.
I was just going to
say,
this is an amazing
And you
outfit.
also noticed the color. It's still, the end of June. I'm still in the Pride Month.
Yes. You look very proud.
So Blythe at
Labels.
Blythe at Labels Consignment. I'm so grateful for her. She's been a part of my partnership since day one. So it's really good. So this week, she wanted me to get outside my box. And I like to wear black and white and beige and light colors. And she said, you are gonna go bold this week. So this is what I'm wearing. I am wearing, the earrings are probably kind of hard to see. They're David Yurman earrings, a Rachel Roy dress, very bright colored, and a Billy Reed blazer.
And your shoes look like Christian Louboutin.
They are. Not that I, get to fashion these very often, but labels, I'm telling you, you got to go see Blythe because
boutique.
So many amazing community members. It's a consignment shop, so they bring their shoes, their purses, their clothes in. So I'm getting to model
they'll
them.
dress.
And yeah.
What's happening?
I wasn't going to forget. Okay.
So you don't have to go back over.
Okay.
Just start right there.
The best part of today, lots of best parts, but I love to go to Caliber. And as you can see, I always do a little flip here. Do you see this? These are my signature braids from Caliber. And Megan did my hair and makeup. So if you see me about town, I normally will have some kind, not like this usually. I do my own, but I'm not quite as fancy as they are. But they're in Midtown. Trace is all, again, I'm so blessed. I've known Jackie and Trace and Blythe for, I don't know, almost 10, 12 years. And we've always supported each other. And that's really what our show is about. It's about bringing people together. It's connecting. We love to connect with you. And we're going to give another shout out really quick to all of our amazing sponsors. Surratt Law Practice, as you could see up here. We love Kim. Dream Pilot Films. Thank you, Brandon. Design on Edge, Courtney and Chris. Again, have Kim and we've all been supporting each other, and that's how our world can be a better place.
Yes.
I also, as we said, Caliber. I have labels. My nails. I go to Soak Spa. So
me
and
too.
you have your toes. I got
do.
my nails.
Love Soak.
So at the end of the day, guys, we're grateful, we're blessed that you are here, and we want you to remember, together we are one heart. We're all together. And next week we're going to be having Joe Dutra, Parker Alexander, and Shannon from Soak Spa. So I hope my nails look good enough for her. I think maybe she'll give me some more tips of what colors I should wear for the summer. So thank you again. It's About Town Deb with City Talk. We will see you next show.
Thank you.